Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Clarity Edge, where we help you align with the primary trends in the market so you can stay on the right side of risk in global markets. Today's going to be a short one. I got a busy day, but let's just take a look at some of the important markets, get you guys an update on yesterday's development. We don't really have any interesting developments over the overnight. In the US session, we had Donald Trump, I believe. First, he started tweeting on Truth Social about, basically talking about accelerating the situation in Iran. And then later, it came out that someone close to him in the administration have heard him say that he's happy, or he's actually looking to de-escalate or look for a solution to the war in Iran, even if the Strait of Hormuz stays closed. So obviously very contradicting statements here. And, if you've been in the market for a while and you know Trump, well, obviously we don't know Trump, but through the way he's tweeting and all that, it's very erratic behavior. It seems like, he's just waking up and sending out whatever, and the next day it's just going to completely backtrack every statement. So I think the market is kind of, pricing in a little bit more risk on today because of that. We can look at the US markets. If we look here on the lower time frames, we do see some, obviously some bullish price action overnight, but it can't even get above the highs of yesterday. And of course, looking at the broader picture here on the S&P 500, we are well below the 200 simple moving average. I mean, we are halfway from that 6,500 support resistance now down to this, the major almost 6K support. So already we have moved down quite a lot. And looking at the Nasdaq, same here, very big move to downside and not a lot of bullish price action here. This is not really convincing to me at all. Going back to coins. So what I wanted to say here with the indices is basically primary trend is down. Good luck, bulls. Bulls. All right, whatever. Bitcoin. What are we seeing on Bitcoin? Range EQ rejection. Nothing bullish here, right? The first sign of bullishness for Bitcoin would come in if we have the a reclaim of range EQ, but even then we're still in a range bound environment. But we are starting to see quite clear, if you compare this range, these two ranges, obviously we see kind of like this local bullish structure, and we kind of had the same here, right? And then we dump down to the next level, and we're kind of getting a similar structure here. So it has happened here. It can happen here again. Just because the local structure is bullish doesn't mean much when we're in an overall ranging environment. So Bitcoin, for me, I'm looking at a rejection around the 68.5 area, between 68 and 68.5. Let's just say between 68 and 69, right? We have a major resistance that we need to reclaim for us to even be, in the bullish range of the actual range. One thing I like doing is looking at the RSI as well, because on the RSI, we have those bullish and bearish ranges, right? So we have when RSI, let's first look at the daily here. When RSI is trading below, usually in the bear market, RSI is ranging between 50 and 30, right? And in the bull market, usually RSI is ranging above 50, right? So we have kind of that bullish range and the bearish range. And you can see here that when you enter a range, you kind of go into that bearish range on the RSI, even if we are in a overall uptrend. Same thing started happening here. Majority of RSI was below 50, and then we started breaking above 50 and holding above 50. So as soon as RSI starts creating a range here below 50, and you can see here how we broke down, RSI was oversold, and then it started coming up to that 50 level again, but we broke down. And if we continue range here, most likely we're going to be ranging below that, in that bearish range. Looking at the accumulation distribution indicator, you guys know that this is something I like watching. We want to see some type of bullish volume coming in here. We obviously, within this range, we're seeing now all throughout this whole move up here, right? So we had the accumulation distribution indicator was arguably bullish from here to around this level, right? And that's kind of like where we had that uptrend, but the uptrend in price, ended around here. So we started seeing that bearish divergence on the accumulation distribution indicator on the 4-hour on that move up. And this is something I called out early and said this is a weak move. You can also look at volume. If you look at the daily here, we can look at volume. That volume, and especially on the accumulation distribution indicator, also on the daily, we didn't have a higher high. But on price we had a higher high, but accumulation distribution indicator, which is based on it's similar to the OBV indicator, but it's taking the size of the candles into consideration. We had a lower high here and a higher low on price. That's a divergence between price and volume, and we also had volume decreasing on this up move. So there's no confirmation between volume and price, which is a quite telling sign that might be a fake out. I'm not saying that it's going to happen every time. Nothing in technical analysis is certain. It's like, being a weather forecaster. You can look at the weather forecast and say it's going to be sun today, and then you look out and it's raining. Well, obviously it's not a 100% probability. It's same thing with technical analysis. But just like a weather forecaster, they're looking at cloud formations and all of that. You look at technical analysis and say, okay, because of this and that and the way price is moving, we see that there's a certain probability of this happening, but it's not always right. But most of the time it is right, especially from my experience when you apply volume to your analysis, because volume is something that is not visible in price. Everyone says, okay, you only need price, you only need price. Too many indicators is just confusing everything, which I tend to agree with if you don't know how to use the indicators. But there's also this thing where volume, most of the indicators are derived from price. We got the moving averages, we got the RSI, we got the MACD, all of that, right, is derived from price and only price. But then you have volume, which adds another layer invisible to price action traders. And that invisible layer, I think, adds a lot of what's that word? Validity to your analysis. But this is Bitcoin. So right now Bitcoin is range bound. We're not seeing any type of bullish structure here. Guys, let me know in the comments if you like these daily video updates. My plan is to upload a video every single day, at least 10 minutes long, covering the markets I'm watching, the setups I'm taking, the trades I'm in, and everything I'm planning to do in the markets. Okay, so we got Forex here. Let's take a look at, we got AUD NZD right here. This is a trade that I am currently in. It's looking, honestly, I think it's looking really, really good here. Really, really good. We had yesterday's daily candle closed very nicely right here. I like that. Accumulation distribution indicator is showing, honestly, it's showing some signs. It actually is looking pretty good. But you could see here, even though price was in a very nice uptrend right here, you still saw accumulation distribution indicator being somewhat flat here, but you still have the overall higher lows here. It's clear that it is in a uptrend. You have the daily RSI is bouncing on the 50%. Remember, we talked about the bearish and bullish ranges on RSI with Bitcoin. So you can see here that when the AUD NZD was trading in range with bearish characteristics, most of that price action was below the 50% line in RSI. And now you can see in this uptrend that we're going to bouncing nicely on that 50% on RSI. So when you're in a bullish range, you can view this area as oversold, right? And then once AUD NZD goes all the way down here and you say, oh, now it's oversold, now it has to kind of bounce. But it's not really the way it works, because if AUD NZD drops like this and RSI drops way into the oversold territory, then I would actually view that as quite bearish and potentially the beginning of a new downtrend. RSI in ranges, selling when the RSI is up here overbought and buying when the RSI is oversold in range, that makes sense. But in a trending environment, the way you analyze using the RSI has to be adjusted based on the context of the market. You can also see on volume here that we're steadily seeing an increase in volume. We did have a nice peak on volume here on that breakout, and we're actually getting like equal types of peaks here in volume. But you also have to take this into consideration, the fact that this peak in volume was on a breakout. This peak in volume is on a move down. So what is that telling us? Well, it's telling us that the selling pressure or the volume on the down move is as big as the volume on the breakout, which is, I view that as slightly bearish. But looking at price, I really like the way this is looking. We got the 20 and 50 EMA here on the daily looking quite good. It's following the overall trajectory of this overall behavior right here. Let's move on to Euro GBP. What do we have here? No real developments. If you guys watched yesterday's video, you know that I'm looking for a breakdown here before going short. We don't have that just yet. Moving on to Euro CAD. I like this. As we talked about, we got that low time frame range right here, and I will see a break below that low time frame range to execute a short position, and I'm looking at something like that on EuroCAD. GBP AUD still like this, waiting for that move down here. Got my alerts ready and want to go long. I like the fact that we had good volume here on the down move. Volume is picking up, and then we get a volume spike on the actual low here, and it looks pretty good. What is the RSI telling us? RSI has reclaimed the 50% region. I would love to see price coming down, hitting that daily 20 EMA, and also bouncing on that 50% level at the same time of that happening. That would be perfect. Looking at the accumulation distribution indicator, we broke, you can see here, we kind of broke above that high here, and that was actually before we had that price breakout. So good bullish divergence here. We also had a good bullish divergence on RSI here at the lows, and this is something I called out when we actually created that low. I didn't enter this trade, unfortunately. I forgot to end the alerts, and been quite busy lately, so it's been difficult for me to monitor the markets regularly. And this is also one of the reasons why I'm starting this new series, because it's a way for me to stay consistent and organized with my market analysis, and then sharing all of that to you guys, and that whole, you know, daily journey of monitoring and planning the trades, and just kind of sharing all my thoughts and everything with you guys. Right, so GBP CAD, you know, I like this, but it's still very much in development, this idea. I have a rough idea of what I want to do here. We can see here that we have reclaimed the 50 here on our side. The accumulation distribution indicator is quite bullish already. The clarity edge index score, you know, obviously you can see that it's been in a ascending market structure, a bullish market structure, all since November 2022. And we're starting to see signs of kind of breaking down in the bearish market structure here, market regime. So that's one of the reasons I'm looking at this. And, you know, I like it. I do like this. But I do need some extra confirmation here. As you can hear in my voice, I'm a little bit uncertain about this. And usually when I'm uncertain about a position or an idea, it's better just to move on. So that's what we're doing. Let's move on. GBP NZD. We had accumulation distribution indicator completely breaking down here. We get the RSI though coming into the bullish range. And as we talked about in yesterday's update, we might still get a breakout here and move higher. But again, I'm looking for confirmation here. Looking at the clarity edge regime index, we see that we are showing signs of entering a bearish regime here as well. Moving on. Let's take a look at gold here. So on gold, we have a nice bounce on this high time frame support right here. And I'm looking for potentially a move from this support level up to the high time frame resistance above. If we look at the 4-hour right here, one thing we're watching here is the accumulation distribution indicator to see if we could potentially get a breakout on accumulation distribution indicator. I'm just going to call it the AD indicator, because saying accumulation distribution all the time is kind of confusing. All right, so I would like to see confirmation from volume here, and volume is declining throughout this range, which I think is a good thing in this range. It means that there's less interest here from either buyers and sellers, and I want to see a break above this level with volume picking up, maybe in a volume breaking that trend line. We can add the moving average here. Want to see volume pick up, turn bullish, kind of ranging here, but you see, want to see a break above maybe, you know, that level on volume, and then the volume moving average picking up to the upside to kind of confirm that there's volume coming in and behind the breakout, and then perhaps the accumulation distribution indicator breaking the highs here. And then I think a move from this level up to this level seems quite probable for gold. All right, that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. It's a small gesture from you, but it really does mean the world to me and for the channel.